Hey, welcome to the Tolleson-Mack podcast. I got a good friend of mine, Tony Youngker, Buckeye City Council member, long time Buckeye farming family, on here today, and just kind of chat with him a little bit. Tony, why don't you tell our listeners, and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. And tell the listeners about your family, because I think your family story is pretty dang cool.
Oh man, that's where do you start situation. Been like you said, been in Buckeye for a long time. Uh, Family. My great grandmother was born in Tempe, and that family part of the Miller family homesteaded Tempe area, and
Like
then
South Tempe, kind of where they were still farming, or
yeah,
up around
back
the
in
mill, or
the but so at that time she was born in the 1890s,
Mhm.
1880s. So it was still kind of a small place
Right.
where it was everything was trying to get going, and with the Hayden family there as well too. And then my grandpa moved out. My great grandpa moved out from Iowa as a very young man, and my then had their family and everything. They moved out to Buckeye and sometime in the um, before statehood, somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure on the date, but it was a long time ago. Um, and then we were just had farms in the Deep Rainbow, Palo Verde, the Buckeye area, Arlington, here and there. Um, Played the piece I grew up on is out there in Palo Verde, around the airport and Palo Verde Road and all that. But
Mhm.
um, they grew cotton, sugar beets.
You guys had that piece where the big, like, it's a big, you wouldn't know what to call it, hit. Well, Hayden's had their cuber or
Oh yeah,
cube.
that was our original shop.
That thing's huge.
Yeah, it's actually a horizontal grain barn.
Oh,
It's got on the south end. It's got a dump where you can dump into it, and then it's got a across the top of the trusses. It's got it's actually a wooden auger that
okay.
runs the length of that building. And that building is kind of cool story. When they put in Oglesby Road, uh, it was in the right of way. So
Which everybody listening will know is 85.
yeah, 85.
Yeah.
And there's a funny story about that too. But so they moved it 300 feet to the east, and
They moved the building?
they moved the whole building because it
Oh,
was right in the middle of the right of way. So they just
oh.
moved it. So yeah, I remember being a kid and we would go in there and we'd shoot pigeons and stuff, and we make our dads would get so mad. You know, as you got older, for you start as a little kid, you got a pellet gun, you got your child. Oh, I'm killing the birds that are eating the grain. You think you're doing the thing, right? Uh, then you all of a sudden you got a 22 and you're in there
Putting holes in
putting
the
holes in
tin.
the tin, and then all of a sudden you're that 18-year-old or no 15-year-old within there with a 20 gauge and a
Yeah.
12 gauge, and all of a sudden you're getting yelled and screamed at, and yeah, you're shooting the birds, but look at that big old hole you put in the
Yeah,
ceiling.
exactly. You could see all the sunlight coming through.
No, but it's a
That is an awesome building. I always thought that'd be the coolest wedding venue.
my son got married there.
Yeah. I
My
just
my
think
oldest
it's
son
so
got
cool.
married. As far as I know, it's the only wedding that's happened there. That was a quick deal. Like he was going to get married at his in-laws' house out in Rainbow, and they live on the south side of Waterman Wash, and it rained, and we couldn't get out there, so everybody had to be called, and we moved it. I remember Paul Hayden and I went in there with a water truck and got all that dirt out of there and made it, and we hung lights in there and had a
That's cool.
generator and all. It was like, and we changed venues in like 6 hours. Like, no, it was a thing.
Really?
Yeah, it was a thing.
Wow.
Had a trailer in there where we had a live band up on a trailer,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was cool. It was really,
I always thought that'd
really
be cool because it was so enclosed, but yet so big. You could just do
Huge.
every part of it inside.
There was I think there's right at 250 people at their wedding, and we didn't use a third of the building.
No, it would.
And that was with the cook trailer in there and the stage and
Yeah.
all the tables and dance floor and all that. It was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I met your dad when he used to work at Case.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Case.
His semi-retirement job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he told me that one time. He said, I'm retired." I said, "I was pretty young." I mean, I just asked him. I was like, "Well, don't retired people don't work?" And he's like, "No." He says, "Retired people sometimes have to come back to work, son. We get bored at home."
He got so bored. I remember that when my dad actually retired,
Yeah.
and I go over to their house, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I look at my mom and I go, "Where's Dad? Is he gone, done something?" She's like, "No, he's in bed." And as a farm kid, 8 o'clock in the morning, your ass is in bed.
Oh yeah.
No,
What?
no. I got up. I got up to go wake him up because I was like, that son of a. All these years, you get out of bed. You get up before. Oh, you've heard it. I mean,
Mhm.
you better get up and get going. I was gonna wake him up. My mom's like, "You you do not wake him up. He's paid his dues. And like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So
That-
he likes your dad. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
always talks fondly of your dad.
Oh yeah, they get along pretty good. I always see him there and La Pasita sitting over in
Yeah.
the corner. Me and him sit in the same table, so when he's there, I don't get my table.
That's the table because
Yeah.
you can see everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, when
No,
he's there, I don't.
nobody behind you, nobody beside you.
Yeah,
That's where I sit too.
I like
But
it.
we kind of give him a little bit of a hard time because he goes there with Terry Kraus, it's Tate and Akamezo's stepdad, and they will be in there for like 2-3 hours. We call it lady lunching.
There you go.
They're doing their lady lunch. They're
There you go.
retired and can spend the time, so they are.
You know, we on here we complain a lot about the growth and the building and everything that goes on around Tolleson because Levine's pushed me out, Tolleson's about ready to push the other Brandon out. But one thing I can say for Buckeye, it is growing and it's growing in a direction some people like, some people don't like, whatever. Everybody's got an opinion, but it's cool when you go in there and you see a couple old farmers like your dad's
Yeah,
still
sitting
chilling
there.
at the table,
Yeah.
just bullshitting.
Talking about absolutely nothing
No.
and everything at the same time.
And everything matters.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You would think they were talking about nothing, but everything they're saying matters. So I think that's still got a lot of Buckeye to it.
Yeah.
Is he a math teacher that eats every morning in 25?
Oh, he was an English teacher, Mr. Grossbach.
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah. No,
see
he's
him.
every day and it's since we opened the cafe, he's been there
Yeah.
every like clockwork, and he'll tell us, "Hey, we're gonna be gone," because if he doesn't show up, we worry. Like
Yeah.
because we had that happen. We had another lady that was coming in every day,
remember
every day, Nancy.
Yep.
And yeah, that ended up being unfortunate, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk
those are
about
people.
I jumped forward a little bit, but you a restaurateur.
Yes.
So one wasn't enough.
One was enough.
Yeah, let's talk about that because one was plenty
One
for
was
me.
plenty. One was plenty. I think that with Cafe 2535, we started it in 2012, and it was I was there. I lived there. I mean, I slept in the dining room at times and stuff. And I
Yeah.
finally got it to the point that I was not having to do that as much anymore. And then La Placita became available, and I didn't want to see it go away. But it's been a long haul at that place, more than I thought it would be.
At La Placita or
yeah,
25
at La Placita. Yeah,
It's a big,
it's a giant place.
giant
I mean,
building.
you don't see 8,000 square foot restaurants that much anymore.
No.
They're just
Like heck, that Mikhail's they just built up there like Jackrabbit Indian School. If that thing's 3,000, I'd be surprised.
surprised.
Yeah.
Well, we get the thing about that. It's a positive thing, I guess. We get a lot of. It's not uncommon to go in there and we'll have a party of 30 on a
Yeah.
Wednesday night that we didn't. I mean, we have, and we've got the room big enough for them. We got enough tables.
Yeah.
sometimes
and
they have to wait.
I had a dinner there for my daughter's soccer team
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
That worked out really great for us. But I mean, I've been in the restaurant business. All those parties of 30s and the soccer teams, that's cool, but that ain't every night.
No,
You know what I
It's
mean?
not-
So
and
that
it's not-
gets brutal.
and it's not 2 o'clock in the afternoon either.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's the kicker is and it's there's always a sinking feeling, even though it's the way things are. I mentioned the 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody eats that time of day. There's
No.
other stuff going, and you walk in there and you think about, okay, how many how many condensers are on right now? And you can't shut off walk-ins like
Yeah.
that your power meter's out there spinning like a top, and
Yeah.
you got to keep going because in a couple hours it's going to be go time again.
Yeah, I always say the people, like the true people, not the fly by nighters that open a restaurant and it's gone in 2 or 3 years and
Right.
they're whipping around in their new cars, big time in it. Like the true people that stick it out for 10, 20, 30 years in Arizona restaurant business, they've seen 30 summers.
That's the kicker, man.
And I mean,
Because-
like, who wants to go outside? Like, bro, when I get in my house, like, I usually get home about 5 or 6 in the evening after working. Walk in my house, and I'll tell you, it's on 76. My electric bill's high, but it's on 76, and it takes an army to pull me back outside.
Oh yeah, no, it does, and it's so cyclical with the restaurant business in the valley. I've been doing it for 25 years now, and you can set a watch to the cycle of the valley when it comes to restaurants. Summertime is just hell.
Yeah.
And not only because it's hot, but because your power bill is higher. You've got things break because everything's under stress. All of your refrigeration's struggling to
Working
keep up,
twice as hard. Yeah.
working twice hard, and then you got to think about, okay, we got to reduce labor, so people trying to go home. That's tough because that's
And
it's
then the
coming.
party of 30 shows up.
Yeah. You just gotta send it and fake
Yeah.
it till you make it, in those situations. But the cycle being summertime's the worst, and then you get a little bit of kick up when school gets back in session, and as soon as there's a week of 100-degree days or less, the snowbirds start trickling back in, and then then you're in season. And then on the reverse end of that, the April 15th, all the snowbirds go home, do their taxes, and then school's out, and you're back at it. You're back in summer, and it
Yep.
sucks again.
Yeah, you're right. And then in Buckeye, as soon as those 100-degree days come, you get all the team ropers.
Yep.
A lot of. Let's give a shout out to Duncan.
Yeah.
Holy, what he's done down
Yeah,
there with that arena.
David, man,
Man.
he is not. David's got a saying, and I don't. If I, David, if you listen to this and I misquote you, we can talk about it later. But he says either fail fast or succeed,
Yeah.
and so he just goes at it, and he's done. Man, you seen like the walkovers and stuff that he built for the?
I mean, just the dirt work that he did at that place
Did he
is
tell
a game
you?
changer.
Did he tell you what he spent on it?
I have no idea.
I'm not going to tell you,
No.
but it was a lot more than I thought because it was a deal.
Well, number one, it needed it
So bad.
so bad, and I mean, Buckeye is such a cool little town because the difference in Buckeye that I see personally than like Queen Creek or Gilbert or something like that, like we're kind of like the 1085. We're right there in the corner.
Right.
I mean, we're easy accessible
Right.
from multiple directions. You want to go into Queen Creek, you go down one road.
Yeah. And you take your life in your hands to do it.
Exactly, doing it. So, guys like him, you guys keeping these restaurants going. I mean, that does nothing but help Buckeye,
Right,
in my opinion.
right.
And I'm
Well-
not saying that just because I sell beef, but I mean, like it really does. It gives and I seen on his schedule, he's thinking outside the box. Obviously, he's not in the position he is in life without doing that.
Right.
But he's doing dog shows. He's gonna have
Yeah.
like truck show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's smart, man.
Yeah, no,
that's a lot of people.
David's always been an industrious guy. We grew up together. Hell, our dads grew up together.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
I've got a, when I moved out of the house that I lived down on the farm out in Palo Verde, we were cleaning it all out, and it was the house my parents lived in, that I grew up in, and I found this calendar, a little Buckeye seed calendar from 1961, and it was right there on Miller, just north of the canal.
Mhm.
And we had our swathers out there cutting grain. I mean, the combines out there cutting grain, open cab, old school, right? And behind them, it was the Duncan trucks
Really?
catching it as it was coming out. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's a cool thing. I mean, that's David and I. Hell, my dad was a little kid,
Yeah.
at that point. So it's cool to see stuff like that.
And it's cool. I mean, I feel like you. I mean, you're on the city council, and I think you more than anyone else. You're not gonna admit to this, but you more than anyone else get the bad end of the stick, right? Because we all know you, right?
Right.
And we feel like. I mean, I've only been in Buckeye since 2000, right? But I came from Levine straight to Buckeye. I only know two places how to live,
right,
right? And Levine was exactly the same. So we all know you, and we feel like you're our voice over there. You know what I mean? You're one of us,
right.
So you kind of do get the bad end of the stick on that. But I think after watching a lot of politics, and I mean, I think it was admirable for you to want to do it. I mean, and you had to want to do it for the better of Buckeye.
Well, yeah, I figure there's got to be somebody to do it, and if you're willing to do it, and you got the really the intelligence to go and do it, and be able to be in that and think with all the things that come into that you have to deal with and look at and understand when it
Mhm.
comes to the council making those decisions and stuff uh, from changing a zoning on a place and agreeing to that, or doing a development agreement for a data center, or, pick your poison, a battery plant that we did, Core Power being out there, and understanding, this is the implications of what we're going to give them in lieu of what they're going to create, air quote that create for us with jobs and more economy in Buckeye. And there's a thing about a lot of people talk about not liking the growth of Buckeye and of the West Valley in general, like you were talking about in Tolleson
Hmm.
being, getting pushed out. But it's going through the cycle now, and we're both wise enough to know that there was a time that the East Valley had more acreage in it under tillage than Buckeye did,
Guaranteed.
and that's a fact. Now you go out there and you're hard
There's
pressed,
nothing.
even getting all the way over to Florence past Queen
Yeah.
Creek. It's getting real thin, but that's just the way it goes. And within my family, we have we kind of make fun of it a little bit, and we call it the Arizona crop rotation. It's cotton alfalfa subdivision.
Right. You're right.
So, and my thought process is it's going to happen. It's like it's like trying to make a wave stop. You're not going to stop it.
Yeah.
So
Let's just try to guide it.
yeah, that's the point that I'm going to make with my stupid analogy I always use. Uh, it's true.
Yeah.
When you're out there in the ocean, you have a choice. You can stand there and try and fight it. You can grab a surfboard and go and do the best that you can
Right.
with it. You can either work with it or you can try and fight it. But either way, that wave's coming. Get knocked over or ride it in.
Yeah.
And try and guide it and do the best you can with it.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up. We have a farm in Arlington, like behind the co-op that we're putting back in farming for a good friend of mine, and it floods. It's in the floodplain, and everybody's like, "Oh man, I can't believe you guys are putting that back in. It's going to flood." I said, "Yeah, it's going to flood." And well, you're doing a lot of work out there. I said, "Well, there's all this ground, and we're not going to farm it because it might flood at some point. How about we guide the water, the flood water,
Yeah, the
where
best you can.
the best we can, and that's all we can do, and then we're still going to be able to farm it.
You could get a bunch of hay bales and put a big tarp in it,
Make a pool,
make a pool.
That'd be way more fun. Yeah, circa 20 whatever
Whatever it was.
Yeah, it was a blurry
No,
time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Blurry time in my life. Yeah.
So no, it's going to grow. It's going to happen. And the reality is that when I get up there on the dais, we make those decisions. I'm one of seven, and I can
Yeah.
only do so much to have the conversation and guide and really trying to make common sense out of it. But it is a time where it's going to slowly change.
Mhm.
And in reality, the only thing that Buckeye has done from day one since 1888 is change.
Mhm.
If you look at it, there was only 420 acres was the original town site, and now we're 650 square miles.
Right.
You talk about a minute ago, you talked about I-10 and the highway right at that intersection. You ever really looked at a full map? That's basically the center of town
Yeah, I guess it is.
because because it's so linear north and south. It goes so far north and so far south. It's essentially the center of town right there. And you think it's on the west side, it's really not.
Right. But I mean, yeah, you're right. My point though was like I was saying is it's so accessible.
Yeah.
And
Logistically
if you look at that same map and you're a guy that's in the business of developing land, it's very accessible.
Right.
You
It's
know what I
it's very logistically positioned to
Yeah.
be something that people would be able to move goods back and forth, whether it be California or Mexico coming up from the 8 and then across from the 10. Pick your poison. There's
Yeah.
ways to get there.
Yeah, and I mean I like I said again, I understand you're one of 7 votes up there. But just know that, like, I know you catch a lot of shit from all of us, but just know that it's because you're our guy, right?
Yeah.
You're the guy, and like I told you before, there's some shit that the city's done that I didn't like, and I called you and I told you, you know what? I don't like this, but I also just read that I could have came down and bitched about this
Yes.
3 months ago. Did I not tell you that?
Yes, you did.
And I didn't go bitch, so I'm not going to bitch now. But I'm just letting you
Right.
know I would have bitched then.
And that's a hard thing. There's there's a lot of things that nothing's done in the dead of night or back or
Can't be.
parking lot decisions and stuff like that, because it can't be. It just can't be. Like I can't even. It's against the law and it's not worth anything to me. Like I can't, if there's an item that we got to talk about, I can only talk to 2 other council members. Because if I talk to a fourth one, that's a violation of open meeting law, and I could go to jail for it,
Right.
and it's not worth it. So like we're not ever in the same, like you never, like if somebody, like say, let's say that the mayor was at the cafe and I was there working, and Councilman Hughes showed up and somebody else showed up. Somebody's got to leave. By
Yeah.
law, somebody's got to leave,
Yeah.
and I can't leave. So
Right. See you later, Mayor.
yeah, get out.
Yeah.
So no, but there's it's definitely, we're definitely got the city going in the right direction at this point.
So
There's
do you
some,
guys, I mean, with that being said, do you guys ever, I mean, you can't talk amongst each other?
we can, when they're like, we do it once a year. But we can talk amongst each other, but it's got to be in an open meeting where the public is
Oh,
invited
like where,
to
yeah, like
view the
I come and
conversation.
sit and watch you
Yeah,
guys.
and there's times that we are together. Like say that there's the Glow Road that's downtown that we have every year, the second week of December, which is, if
sit there
anybody's
with-
been to it,
I sit there with Mr. Tramp and watch it.
it's awesome.
Yeah, I love
I mean, we'll talk about a piece of Americana that everybody needs to go and be a part of.
I love VMC's floats with the big
yeah,
tractors. They do
right, the
such a good
tractors,
job.
and then
or
the
IMC, sorry, yeah.
the Rovies come in with their, and they do their little turns, and Jerry's all pulling on the turn and brake, and it's something that's cool. It is a look back at a increasingly bygone era.
It's like the 4th of July parade in Prescott. That's what it reminds me of.
Right,
But at
right.
night, you know?
Yeah, but at night.
It's fun to sit there, and it seems like, like I said, I sat there with Mr. Tramp, the ag teacher from
Yeah,
Buckeye
yeah,
last
Dawn.
year. Yeah. And we just, I mean, you chop it up with all these people, and then people walking by, hey man, how's it going? And it's not like a high stress environment. You had to buy tickets,
Right. No.
and there's some overstimulated security guard trying to kick you out or something. Just
right,
everybody's having
right.
a good time.
It's chill.
Your kids are laying out on blankets, and
Yeah. It's always the best. We've been involved with it. Really been involved with it since the get go. But with having the cafe down there, and we've done 12 of them now. It's always the best when it's cold. Like if it's cold,
the hot
dude,
chocolate
the
going.
hot chocolate, and
Like the
just-
last one.
Oh, dude, it was so nice,
The
and
hot
like
chocolate going.
maybe there's a little bit of breeze. Like it brings that whole thing. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big Christmas guy. The whole decoration and stuff, it drives me bananas.
I love it.
Do you really?
I love it.
What's wrong with you?
Dude, I love it. But I don't. But I will say this: I don't help my wife put the tree up, because I feel like we have the tree up 6 months early. It's not true, not 6 months, but we do have it up very early. And I'll come home one day, and her and Hayden will just be putting up the tree, and I'm like, bro, have we even eaten turkey yet? Like, I don't even know. But she loves it, and I love it though, because I like it. I like family and like
Oh yeah. That's the best. That's really the best part of
hanging
all of it.
out.
Yeah,
Like, I like
yeah.
that stuff.
And I still got Waylon. He's 7 now,
Oh, yeah.
so he still digs it and all the Christmas and all that stuff. But no, I'm
Okay, Scrooge.
I know I'm not a curmudgeon about it. It's just that what sucks is it's a busy time of year for me,
Oh yeah.
and then I find myself coming home, and you talk about not wanting to do anything. I'm moving the black and yellow boxes of hell out of the Connex into the garage so that we can take our normal stuff down and put the
Oh, yeah.
Christmas stuff up. And it's just, because I'm busy, I don't like doing it. But
Let's talk about that real quick. How long's it been since you've been to Harriet's house?
Aunt Harriet's
Yeah.
house? I think since when I came and got the golf cart from Dustin.
Okay. So the other day she bought Mike a swing, like an outside swing, and called and asked if we could come put it together. Of course I can. So we go down, we pick it up, we put it together, take it down there. I go in to say hi to Mike. That lady is like the ultimate grandma lady. Like her house is depending on the season you go, it's decorated accordingly.
She's nuts.
And I don't mean a couple throw pillows. Bro.
No.
I'm talking this lady remodels the house.
Like
to-
I know exactly.
love it.
At Christmas time, she puts those little sticky bow things, that are like for a package. She puts them on all those pictures.
Yes.
I
love it.
Oh my God, dude.
I love that.
And God bless her. I'm glad she does it. I'm glad she enjoys it. It's just not my gig, brother.
She does, and then she puts up. Thank God that. Let's give a shout out to Jason Hardison because he's in charge of lights for. I'm in charge of swings, irrigation, sometimes stuff like that, pipes breaking, things like that. I love the lady to death. I'll do anything for her. But Jason's guys put up all those lights, and it's like a winter wonderland.
It's ridiculous
in the middle of the field.
You can see it from space.
Yeah. I remember probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. She calls me. She goes, "Is do you know?" Because we share a well. She goes, "Do you think the well's leaking?" I'm like, "I don't think so, Harriet. I'll go check though." I said, "But the pressure's good. Like if there's a little leak, it usually pressure falls off." And she says, "Well, my electric bill's a little higher this month." And we split, and I said, "Well, do you think it has anything to do with the 8 million lights?" She goes, "I didn't think of that, Brandon." Okay. I mean, because it is literally like you could see it
Dude.
from space, bro.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about that. So my mom and Harriet are the same person about that.
Hmm.
So I was about 17 years old, and my mom said, "I want a ton of lights on the house this year." This is like October, and I'm like, "Okay." And there's not an atom in my body that wanted to do it, right? So me and some buddies, I went and saw Dan Welch at Welch's Hardware.
Mhm.
I said, "Dan, I need some lights for Christmas." He's like, "Okay, yeah, good." And we'll get them ordered. And I go, he goes, "Well, how much do you want?" I go, "How much comes on a pallet?" And he goes, "What?" I go, "No, I want a pallet of lights. However much comes on a pallet." And he's like, "Okay, I'll order you a pallet." So we got a pallet of lights
Holy.
and extension cords. And I called George's Electric, and George came out and put a little sub panel on the house so that we can run all these lights. 'Cause back then, you had to have power because they're not LED at that.
Right.
It's in a 95 or whatever it was.
Turn them on and the whole city goes dim.
Nuclear power plant. Anyhow, so we go and we get all these lights put up. My mom she's so happy. She's just it's the best thing ever. She's got the greatest son, gold star day for me, and I'm just doing it. I set this whole thing up. So I ordered in October. They show up in November, right? All the extension cords, all the stuff to go along with it. So they show up in November. Put it on the farm account.
Of course.
Dad gets the bill in December.
Oop.
It's already done.
It's a done deal.
Done deal. And mom's happy. I started World War III between my parents and said, "I just did what I was told."
Hey,
and
I just work here, man.
right.
Work here.
He comes after me. "How much did you spend on Christmas lights?" I go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And she
Whoa,
comes out.
cowboy. She's
You go talk to that little woman in there.
Yeah. And I bet you he had a different tone when he was coming after her.
He was mad, but the lights stayed up. Nothing,
No
and
returns.
Dude, I made sure I threw the boxes away. Like there was no going back.
He was probably wondering, man, I wonder where all he must have figured it out.
That's exactly what happened. And you know what that did? I was never asked to do lights again.
Yeah, that's perfect. So Jason, if you're listening,
you're a gentleman, a scholar. I know you've been a very good,
man.
kind-hearted gentleman for your entire life. But the fact that you do Aunt Harriet's Christmas lights, good on you.
Yeah.
But do not call me.
Yeah, she teases all the time. She's like, "Well, if I call Dustin down here, he knows I have something to do." She knows.
Right.
Oh, I don't mind her. Harriet's been so good to us.
She's good people, man. She's really good people.
She's good. Mike's been good. It's been a joy having them for neighbors. I could have had some old crotchety old people that I wouldn't have got along with.
Right.
That'd have been no fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all the way out in Palo Verde. You're very versed in that. But let's talk about the downtown growth.
Cool.
I will tell you, I love the crosswalks.
Yeah, they're nice.
And
they're different.
All those people that called me bitching about everything else called me back to tell me they love the crosswalks.
That whole thing, we'll just touch on it real quick because it's been a hot button, and I think that there's a vision that we need to see through.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I told you. I at first I was fired up about it, and then I thought about it. Well, we'll go back to this. I was fired up about it. I told you I should have bitched 3 months ago. I didn't, so I'm not gonna bitch now. But I think it's education. I think because there's so many lines going on.
Yeah, there's it's a lot to it, and it was a big process to get to where we're at. There's actually a plan that's posted on the city's webpage.
Okay, yeah.
The downtown specific area plan is what it's called. It's a 700-page document that was created to show that by a group of stakeholders, and the city hired a studio out of I think they're out of Missouri or something like that. There's an expert to come and help us walk us through the project and all the hours that was spent and to get to where it's at. But it has to start somewhere. We went and toured Gilbert as a council and the city management, and the Gilbert and Chandler to see, they've got pretty successful downtowns. Like, what's their secret sauce? And they had doors wide open. And shout out to those two cities for, the mayor went with us, their city managers, and we walked around town and they explained what they did. And they have two different schools of thought with what they're trying to do. Chandler's is they want to build a vertical, modern metro area, to rival downtown Phoenix is what their eventual goal is. But Gilbert wanted to have that more entertainment area. And I think that our direction is going to be more that entertainment area that Gilbert's got. But Gilbert started their thought process, and I talked to one of the council ladies. Her name is Kathy Telke. I probably said that wrong, Kathy. I don't know if you ever listen to this, I apologize. She's an awesome lady, but she called it a 30-year overnight success because they started doing the process in the early 90s to get to where they're at now. Everybody just thinks it's always been like that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're wise enough to know that
right.
Not always been like that. It really hasn't.
When it was different, yeah.
And even we've been in Phoenix long enough. Back in the day, you go down. Only thing you went downtown in the '90s in Phoenix to do is go to a Suns game and get the hell out of Dodge.
Yep.
Now you go down there and it's Roosevelt Row and it's all the warehouse districts
and the restaurants,
and it's cool and it's safe. Like my wife and I did a staycation there a few months back, and I never spent time like that downtown in our downtown. Yeah. But it takes time to have a vision and to get it done, and you got to start somewhere. I say all that to say you got to start somewhere.
Like when I was just in Omaha last week, I was sending you all those pictures of how Omaha did it. They built the big shade.
Very similar, man.
So it's pretty similar. It's a big learning curve for Buckeye because guys that have been there for a million years, they don't like change. But that's the same guy still growing cotton.
Right. And that's
nothing against cotton growers, but like it's not making a lot of money and you're still doing it because you're good at it and you know how to make a little bit, but you just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, Buckeye's going to have change. I was really more pissed off about the apartments probably than the thing, but the long and the short of that is if I own that property and I wanted to build apartments, I'd build the apartments.
And that's really. And that's really the thing that it's important for. I try and keep in my mind about it. Everybody's got their property rights, and as long as it's zoned correctly and it's done in the right fashion, as long as it's an allowable use, it's still a free country. I am
with you on that.
Whether you're a private property, whether it's your home property, that's what people normally think about. But a company that owns a piece of property, they're an entity. They have the same rights that you do in your own private home.
And the people that are, sometimes screaming about that are the same ones screaming about the government shouldn't take away our rights. Well, they should think about what they're bitching about.
Yes.
Because I do agree. I don't like there's a lot of shit I don't like. Yeah. But you know what? That's fine. That's just growth. Yeah. It's going to happen. But same thing. Like I said, 100%. If I own the property, and somebody came to me and said, hey, you own this property. I'll build the apartments and I'll split the money with you. Let's go get the zoning. We're headed to the zoning department.
And you're laughing all the way to the bank.
And I mean, that's, you see this shit on Facebook. Oh, farmers shouldn't sell their land to these developers. Bro, they're buying it by the square inch.
And people would say that, who are they to decide what a farmer should do with their individual business?
They've worked their ass off and their dad and their grandpa.
That's what I was just going to say. I say this often too, the ultimate land speculator in the United States is the American farmer. Sometimes it takes generations to see what the original starter of that had in mind where it was. And a lot of those guys that start like that, they might be able to be a farmer and they get land, but they can grow a product. But at the end of the day, they understand that the value of their farm is the dirt, is the land that they're on.
For someone that I know personally, the best at that I know personally is Wade Akameza.
Wade?
100%.
Yep.
Here.
Yeah.
Other side of 85.
Yep.
Paloma next to the railroad tracks. Harquahela. He's savvy.
Yeah.
He knows. He watches. He looks. He does his homework, does his research. And you're right. Who are the people putting that up and saying that? I mean, Wade's doing his job.
It's how he supports his family.
Yeah, he's setting up his family.
And who is anybody to say that Wade shouldn't be doing what he's doing?
Right, exactly.
As long as he's following the letter of the law and doing it
Yeah.
appropriately, God
Yeah.
bless him.
Yeah. I mean, he probably sold this piece right here on 99th and bought that entire piece of Buckeye. I
Maybe.
mean,
Yeah.
however, whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that's what they do. So for you saying that, like, farmer is the ultimate land speculator, that's 100% on point. I mean, he is, and what he does in the meantime to pay for the ground is farm.
Yeah. And on top of that, I can honestly, I can tell you, there's no better way to raise a family than
No.
in that light. And the cards didn't lay out for me to do it, so I chose to be a restaurateur, and here we are, doing our thing. Um, but man, I remember just you know growing up on the farm, getting up early, cutting weeds all summer long, doing that and being out there with the irrigators boys and picking them up in the morning. And I was 8 years old when I ran my first crew of guys.
Yeah.
I go pick them up
It's
and
easy.
my
Yeah.
dad would tell me where to go. And like, that was just a fun way to grow up.
Yeah. I mean, we had Sharman Hickman on here, and I mean, same thing with those guys.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, they went from Glendale to Arlington, and people can say what they want, but I'm in Arlington and I own property there and restaurant. And there was hardly nothing there when they built.
Very, very little.
Very few.
Especially in that spot.
Right
next
in
to
that spot.
Yeah.
And then they went to Tonopah. I mean, they're the same thing, exactly what you said. Their land, I mean, smart.
Smart. Well, we ever talked to her mom and dad. In the beginning, those two were packing eggs by hand.
Mhm.
They didn't have money for an employee.
Well, she was saying on the podcast that her mom and grandma sold eggs off the front porch.
Yeah, and then to hear her dad tell a story about the time they bought their first truck to go and deliver the eggs.
Yeah.
That was a
big deal.
pinnacle in his life. And
Yeah.
think about it now. Geez.
Well, it's it's the same thing. Like if people would look at it a little closer, right? So Brandon just bought his first very nice hay squeeze to go load hay.
Okay.
He called me when his first child was born. We talked. I went. Buying the hay squeeze rivaled it. I don't know the excitement level exactly was the same, but it rivaled it, right? And I mean that's just because it's like what you say. You're proud, right?
Yeah.
And you're proud to do it. And I mean that's what makes the American farmer the American farmer. We kind of like the whipping,
Yeah.
to prove that we can still do it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
you got that heart. So I think that same heart has to happen. That's why it goes into a restaurant. Because like what we were talking about earlier, you're getting your ass whooped all summer long.
All summer long.
And you just know.
Don't
it.
stop.
I mean, it's like, when you were a kid and you're like, man, I'm not sure I can take this guy,
Yeah.
but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same deal. So what's on the horizon? I mean, the like I said, everybody loves the crosswalk. Same guys bitching to me about the too many stripes. They're loving the crosswalk.
And I think
And what
that
were you real quick? What were you saying? Because I'm like, well, maybe they like ground it and paint.
oh
it.
no, it's a I can't even say it's like almost like if you had real thick paint, like a latex
epoxy
paint,
or
and you peeled it up. No, it was like in 2x2 sheets,
Uh-huh.
and they laid it down and they melted it into the asphalt. It's an overlay.
Oh,
I don't know
that's
what it kind
I
of.
don't know. It looks bitchy.
Yeah, I was down there last night when the guys were working on it, in front of Liquor Corral, and they were laying it down. They had this cool little machine, propane driven, that melted into the
That's cool.
stick. So we'll see, and that's really a placeholder and a temporary condition for what we can do for the design of the street. So when I talked about the DSAP and the downtown master plan, it's a different playbook for the downtown. And there's still a lot more work to be done with it. We have a general concept of a direction we need to go. When we start talking about street design and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot more public outreach for people to come in and have their 2 cents worth. We made a plan, but everything, the actual design of it has got a long way to go.
So I got kind of a question, just a Buckeye citizen question. You can answer or not answer. But when you guys do something like this, when you change the street around, because I mean that was a drastic change to the street. Do you guys like have a meeting with the chief of police and say, "Hey, you got to cut the citizens a little bit of slack here, while they're learning where these
Yes,
50,000 lines go."
Lots of communication, everything,
You know what I
everything
mean?
goes in line. And I'll be honest with it, it was a little bit unfortunate the way it kind of played out, because there was a problem with getting one of the paints to finish it up. So
There
it
had to
was,
be. I mean, if you're gonna get kicked in the nuts, let's get all the way kicked.
yeah,
in the
let's just, let's
Let's
double,
rear back.
let's double back and do it again.
Yeah.
So that it would have been a lot better, but it is what it is at this
Yeah,
point. It would have been a lot better to do it all. It was supposed to be done in 4 days.
mm-hmm.
But when you start having those setbacks and just materials not coming in right, and you already started it, and it's unfortunate. And if you've ever built anything, that stuff happens.
Right.
And if you've never built anything, maybe
Go
think
build
about it.
something.
Yeah, go build something and be prepared for it.
Even Home Depot runs out.
Right, right. So then, especially it's something that's such a specific product. So what was the confusing part of it? I think is they have to measure everything out, and their marks that measured the things out that they were have to hit with the paint with the stripe
away.
machine. No, they're there.
Oh
But
yeah.
they were left as a mark rather than what they're
stripe.
actually represented.
Mhm.
So it'll all this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And once it's done, hopefully we can get everybody parking in the right spot.
Yeah.
And really, I think from my perspective, as somebody that crosses that street between the restaurants on a regular basis, I appreciate the fact that everybody slowed down, even though we only dropped the speed limit from 30 to 25.
And I noticed like the first week that we dropped the speed limit from 30 to 25, boy, the cops were on it, man. They were pulling people over. But it's almost, that's why I asked that question. Like, does everybody get together and talk? Because now I don't see them that much. I mean, they drive through, and all
Mhm.
they need to do is drive through, and everybody slows down. They don't need to pull nobody over.
Right.
But
And-
people like, I mean, even for me, for example, been driving 20 years through there, 35 miles an hour. My foot just knows where to hold the gas pedal.
Right. Right.
It's,
What's terrible about that though is and it's something maybe you don't see because you're not down there as often as I am.
Right.
The person that would go down through there at 60.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it was all the time. There's kids across the street at BES. I think that there's a mental piece of that's I didn't really foresee, and maybe some of the traffic guys foresaw that it was going to be this way. But it being a little bit more condensed, you automatically, without paying attention to the speed, slow down because it's more condensed. You have to be.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be more.
Well,
pay
you
attention.
slow down a lot more on a 2-lane than you do a 4-lane.
Right. Right.
You know,
It's just
4-lane,
mental.
it's automatically you got somewhere to pass.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So-
And I don't think it's hurt the traffic pattern much at all.
I'll be honest, and I'm gonna get some flack from my buddies for saying this, but I thought it was gonna be more of a cluster when school started. It's not that bad. I mean, I'm not saying that because you're on here. I would.
Yeah, no, we would talk about it and disagree and
Yeah.
whatever.
So, but I really thought it was more. So this morning when I was eating breakfast, I mean, big windows. You sit right there and watch it.
Mhm.
Wasn't too bad, honestly. Maybe getting out of school. Like the other day, my mom picked up Hayden from school. Getting out of school right there by Sheep's Camp, there was a big long
Mhm.
line because there was.
But there always has been.
Since
I was in high school.
No, the reason it looks longer, it's the same amount of cars. The reason it looks longer is they're all in one line. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it goes from the crosswalk at Arlington,
Okay.
at the burger shop, all the way to almost Circle K. But that's only because they're in one line. It's the same amount of cars
Yeah.
going through Buckeye, but it just looks longer.
And I'm pretty sure that the traffic signals are programmed to handle that traffic volume too. And
Well,
as we continue to improve
I think it
those-
was the crosswalk, right? So when the kids,
Oh, I see.
So-
the one
so-
sits by itself a little bit further to the east.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when the kids are crossing there, that's jamming it up and it's taking it all the way. But I don't think there's not more kids that go there. It's just it's one lane. So I mean, that's the only thing that I've really seen. And I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to figure it out. I mean,
Right.
turn left and go down baseline. I don't know. That's what I told Hayden to do.
Right, and I think in the long run there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to it more than likely.
Oh, guaranteed. 'Cause,
And
I mean, I don't.
if-
look for it.
I think it's going to work out for the best, and if there needs to be changes, and if it doesn't be, and it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be, at the end of the day, it's a proof of concept for our overall, the 12-foot sidewalks we want to put in and make it a more walkable space. And it's part of the plan.
Yeah, I kind of thought that. I was like, when you told me about the 12-foot sidewalks, I was like, dude, this is 12-foot sidewalks. Get the fuck out of here. But then I went to Omaha.
Aha, you went somewhere and
I
saw
went
it.
to Omaha, and I sent you the pictures, and they had 12-foot sidewalks. maybe even wider, maybe like 15 or something.
Yeah.
And there was a, like on the side of the cafe, your seating, what's that? Maybe 8 foot wide,
Oh, it's 10. Yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
foot wide. So 10 foot wide, but they had that much seating in front of each
Right.
restaurant. And then you still had the
It creates an environment.
right. Kind of creates the whole little thing. And they had cool like planters up there and people were having farmers markets and shit. It was, it's a different, obviously, Omaha versus Buckeye,
Right.
but it was cool. I kind of seen your idea. I don't know how in front of like, say, I don't know, from like what's the old tortilla place?
A flat tortilla.
From the flat tortilla all the way to Liquor Corral,
Mm-hmm.
you could get that same thing,
Right.
right? With
Right.
the shade, all the way across all those buildings. And then maybe, over there by Ernie's deal by the gas station, you could get it. But then there's gonna be some places that are too far set back and things like that. So
Yeah. Or
not,
things that
not
don't make
everything's
sense.
gonna be
Yeah.
symmetrical like Omaha,
Right.
or like Gilbert or whatever. But I don't know. Like I said in the beginning, I was like, "What the fuck's going on over here?" But I'm coming around to it. I think a lot of other people are coming around to it. We're growing. There's nothing nobody can do about that.
Right. And that's gonna be the soul of the city. It's the original town site. And we've got to protect it. And we've
And-
got to put some rules in that's their own playbook that makes sense.
And let's be real, it all happened right before the election, so
Yeah.
everybody had an opinion. We are not a political podcast by no means. I say whatever the fuck I want on here, and that is what happened. It was right before the election, so everybody jumped on that bus.
There's people out there that just like complaining about it.
Just like bitching about everything, dude. Like we had a customer. He shall remain nameless. This guy complained about beef every week when we deliver it to him. And he'd complain to the girls and he'd be rude to the girls, my wife and my sister in the office. He'd be rude to them. And finally I said, "Look, I'll call him." So I call him. He's not rude to me. I said, "Look, bottom line is the beef good?" "Yes, the beef is fine." I said, "Okay, so what are you complaining about?" He says, well, you put minimums on it. I said, "Dude, you're in downtown, old town Scottsdale, and you want me to deliver you 5 pounds of skirt meat? I can't do it.
No.
It's just not.
Doesn't pencil.
It doesn't pencil. I'm losing money every week." And so, and then when he got off the phone, he doesn't bitch anymore. I think some people just like to complain about
Right.
something.
Or they get those blinders on. They only see the world for themselves.
And they like to complain to people who will listen to them complain. That's what I
right.
told my
And
little
validate their point.
Yeah, I told my little sister, don't give this guy any credit.
Yeah.
If our minimum is 30, it's 30. That's what it is.
Right. Because what
And
makes
I said,
sense for your business model.
I don't care what that guy says if he has my. Well, I'll call Brandon. Call him twice. I don't care. It's gonna be the same answer. So you're right. Some people just like to complain, and I try to go to the source if I'm a bitch, but I keep an open mind, and that's the other thing. I think more people should keep an open mind about there's a time and a place to complain.
Right.
Right. And if that's why the whole reason I ran for the school board is I went down there and I seen it and I seen some things I didn't like. Do I think I'm Superman and I'm gonna go in there and change everything? No, but I can't complain about it if I'm not gonna try to fix it.
Right.
Or try to help at least.
Right.
Try to have an opinion.
How does that going?
Good. There's 3 available seats. There's 3 of us that got enough signatures.
Oh.
So they were going to cancel the election and appoint us. And
because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's way cheaper. In the 11th hour, somebody was a write-in candidate. So now we have to have whole signs, campaign deals, or however we decide to do it. But we have to do the whole thing, and we'll be on the November ballot.
That's a kind of a cool feeling, though. Like I'm gonna
be on the same ballot as Trump.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's cool.
Jerry Sheridan.
Yeah, it's cool to see stuff like that. Like I remember the first time that I ran for council, ended up being in a runoff because there was 3 people going for a vacant seat, and so I almost won enough in the primary because if you win enough in the primary, it's a done deal.
What did you tell me though? It was like 50 plus 1, or
it's like if I'm wrong, anybody out here, they're fact checkers, but yeah. So from what I understand, it's 50% of the vote plus 1 vote. So you've got the majority. You have to have the majority of the vote. Not 50 plus 1%. It's 50% plus 1 vote.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I understand it. So I was so close the first time around for it to being around, but there it's kind of a cool thing, man. Take pictures of it. I made a
Yeah.
copy of it, and it's you'll be on the probably be on the backside because there's a lot of
Yeah.
initiatives and stuff. But your name appeared on a ballot
Mhm.
in the United States presidential election cycle.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing.
That is
man.
pretty cool. And I'm excited. I really like Jerry Sheridan.
Yeah,
You know, he's been on here before. He's a good friend of ours, and he's on there with
yeah,
us. You know, and I think it'll be cool. I want to do my part, try to help. And,
yeah.
you know, that's all we can do.
Yep. It's that what's that proverb? You think if you think somebody should do something, maybe you should.
Yeah, exactly. No shit. What are these guys laughing about? Out here?
I don't know. They're probably on YouTube or something
They're
like that.
probably watching themselves on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll let you get out of here. Get back to Buckeye. It's getting
Cool.
late.
Right
So
on.
I appreciate you
You
coming.
ever want me to come back?
Hey, and I appreciate you being honest because just so everybody knows, like before somebody comes on here, we do a little list like, hey, what can I not ask you about? What can I ask you about? And Tony's like, ask me about whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, and I think
We didn't even get to the fun stuff. I mean,
Right,
we just kind of
exactly.
talked about
That's
that.
part two.
Yeah.
And-
No, we
and-
can.
And I think when you're a councilman or you know, you're part of. I respect that
Yeah.
because you
Thanks,
know
man.
because people do think that. Oh, bro, what's going on in the back room? Well, what the fuck? They can't do nothing.
No, and it's not worth.
I think it would be better if you could talk. Like I think it'd be better
Well-
if you could hash the shit out.
Well, we do just to clarify that we do something that's similar to that. And so we do it. We're doing it in October. It's called a retreat, where but it's posted that we're all going to be together. It's open to the public. People can come, and it's a whole day thing. We have a moderator that we do tasks about how we get the plan for the next 12 months moving forward. So it's we do there is a time where we all get together and there's not an agenda. We can talk about whatever we want. We can talk about however long we want.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that does happen, but it's in a very confined, posted. You know, we have to post it in the paper and on our website and so on and so forth. So it is, but there is times we can just
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
once I started this whole school board thing, man, when I started looking into the rules and everything, you know, I was thinking my lucky stars that Brian decided to come back and be the president because I'm like, bro, I do not want to talk that much
right.
about it. You know, I need a second. I need this. I need like
Oh,
Brian
the parliament,
runs the whole deal.
the parliamentary procedure
Yeah.
of it, Robert's
Bri-
Rules of Order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He runs the whole deal. And I'm like, oh, buddy, I would screw that up so bad. So, podcast, no problem. I talk my leg off. But
Yeah, but that's a lot. This is a lot less formal than that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right, buddy.
All right, man.
Be good.
Yeah, same to you.